Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 1957 Ferrari 250 California. Now this was part of the Ferrari 250 series, which was a run of sports cars and GT cars built from 1952 to 1964. Now this is the long wheelbase version that was designed for export to the US, ran up to around 1959-1960, and then the short wheelbase version took over. But to keep weight down, due to it having quite a bit of extra length on it, it had an aluminium hood, doors and boot lid. So yeah, it weighs very little at only 2,315 pounds, and yeah, it's an absolutely gorgeous looking car overall. Even though obviously it's meant for lightweight, being lightweight, it's not skimped on, you know, details or anything like that. So you've got a really nice hood scoop on it. You've got a modest but tasteful amount of chrome. You've got those side vents going from it. You've got wire wheels. You've got a gorgeous rear end. That's quad exhaust, and yeah, it's just all very, very nice. Yeah, to top it all off, it's got an absolutely gorgeous engine as well. Not just in terms of sound, but also in terms of power and general output, as it's a 3-litre V12 engine producing 262 horsepower and 188 pounds-feet of torque. Now I know that doesn't sound that much. You've got hatchbacks nowadays that are more powerful than that, but for a 65-year-old road car, that is a really, really rather good, and yeah, puts it easily in one of the more powerful cars from Europe back in the day, quite frankly. And yeah, it's got a really rather solid interior as well. Nice and simple, but everything is the way you'd expect it to be. So obviously it's got wind down windows and stuff like that, and you've got not much electronics in here, but yeah, you've got all your nice dials that have got chrome binnacles on it. You've got your white on black dials, and yeah, really nice steering wheel that lets you see the speedometer and rev counter nicely. You got your rear view mirror on the dashboard there, and you got a glove box with some storage in the doors as well. So yeah, all very simple, but all very nicely done. And yeah, I'm glad they didn't try and shove 2 seats in the rear. Not that that would skimp on boot space though, because yeah, the boot is pretty much taken up by the fuel tank and the spare wheel there. So yeah, not very practical, but then, you know, neither would it be practical in terms of any rain or anything like that, because I highly doubt the roof is easy to get up. So yeah, but fantastic car, and yeah, one that really does need to be driven to be experienced properly. So let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. Right, so here we are at the drag strip. So obviously this isn't the most relevant test ever, given how old this car is, but it's going to be interesting to see what it can do nonetheless. So let's see what it can do before we hit the speed camera. So yeah, revs up to more than 7,000 RPM and has a lovely naturally aspirated V12 engine noise going for it. The gears are quite long, which is what ultimately stops it from being the fastest kind of thing ever, as it doesn't really keep the car's torque and power in the optimum, you know, level. It does feel like it peters off quite a lot at the top end, but 111 mile an hour there is not bad at all. So let's get to the track and see what this can do. Now obviously this is based on track technology of the time. The engine, for instance, was used in the 250 racing cars of the time. Obviously it's not as powerful. Oops, sorry Jaguar. But yeah, it does show that even back in the 50s that Ferrari were trying to merge racing technology with, you know, road car usability, which is obviously a staple of their output nowadays. Let's see what we're gonna do. So let's just look at the stats. So yeah, we're in mid-high C class, which is fairly good for a 65-year-old car. And yeah, the speed, the handling, the acceleration are all really rather decent, but yeah, the launch isn't the best, purely because, you know, it's a rear-wheel drive old car, but the gearbox also does take a bit of getting used to in a lot of ways, and obviously the braking isn't much good either. But even though the braking technology isn't the greatest, at least it isn't a heavy car, so, you know, don't have that much momentum to really stop it. But at the end of the day, this is a car that is more about, you know, the journey rather than, you know, how it gets there, because it looks absolutely gorgeous, sounds great, and it's just really rather enjoyable to drive in a simple back to basics approach, really. And and get around this track. So yeah, I'll let you listen to the car for a little bit first, and then we'll talk about it some more. So yeah, it does roll around a fair bit. It does have some understeer as well, and yeah, those brakes definitely aren't the best. But for a car that is 65 years old, you'd expect it to be handling a lot worse than this. And at the end of the day, it's still a rather sprightly car. It's not one that feels like it's, you know, lugging around a load of weight, which it certainly isn't. Only 2,300 pounds. And yeah, that engine, because it's fully naturally aspirated and it's high revving and sounds as glorious as it does at least make you feel like you're going faster than you are, which would obviously be that would be multiplied even further being an open top in real life with the wind in your hair and everything. So yeah, glorious car to drive, and especially one to listen to. And yeah, it's, like I said, fairly sprightly. 0 to 60 in 6.467 seconds. 0 to 100 in 14.665 seconds, and it will to a top speed of 149 miles an hour, which is fairly rapid today if you compare it to other kind of sports cars that don't have that much in the way of power. Compare it to like sort of a Toyota GT86 or, you know, a Mazda MX-5 for instance, and they're around the same kind of time as this. So yeah, not bad at all for something that's 65 years old, and at the end of the day, it offers up plenty of driving pleasure. And yeah, the only bad thing about this car in this game is that it costs so much. It's 18.5 million credits, which is a huge amount. Luckily, I got this in a wheel spin, so yeah, that's probably how most people are going to get this car, because that's a lot of money for a car like this. But still, I really do enjoy this car. And you're probably wondering why I'm reviewing this of all things, considering it's been in the Forza series a long time. Well, it might well have been, but it's not a car that I've reviewed before. I've used it in other videos, but it's never been a car that I've properly looked into and shown off. And yeah, since there are plenty of cars like that are on this game, then I figured, you know, in between the car pass vehicles and all of the festival players vehicles, it'd be nice to revisit some classics. So yeah, and this is one of those classics, and yeah, love it, and I'm really glad it's in the game. I just wish we had more classic road cars from the 50s and 60s from Ferrari, to be honest, because there are still some out there that we have yet to have, and I'd like that, because over the you know, the numerous modern cars that they've had, the numerous different iterations of other cars that we've had from Ferrari, like the J50 and the Monza and the FXXK Evo, I'd have much preferred something older that we've never had in the Forza game before than, you know, a different variant of a car that we've already had. Even though I do like the J50 a lot, and the Monza is decent, and the Evo is a engineering marvel in terms of how good it is in terms of handling, I would have much preferred an older car that we've never had before. But alas, that's just the way it is sometimes. Can't have everything you want in a game like this. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.